Hey everybody, this is my Sundolphin Excursion 12 SS kayak, but fundamentally is identical to the Aruba. The only difference between the Excursion and the Aruba is the Excursion comes in this olive green color, and it comes with a fishing rod holder, and I believe this little cover here is on the Excursion, but you only get the dashboard area without this little cover when you buy the Aruba. But fundamentally it's exactly the same. All the shape, the hull, the hatches, everything else is identical to the Aruba. So if you're actually thinking about the Aruba or whatever, this video will apply, even though this is actually the Excursion. So today I want to go over a few of the mods I've made on this kayak, because I really do like this kayak a lot. I know the Sundolphins get a lot of flack online for being crappy little kayaks, and they kind of are, but you get what you pay for, and a few simple mods makes this a really nice kayak. So what I've done today, we'll start there. What I've done today is I've added myself a little waterproof USB port so that I can charge my phone and charge my cameras and stuff while I'm out there. I've got that wired in. I've run a couple of wires up to the front of the kayak, and then in here I installed myself a little battery box, and I got myself a little 6 amp hour 12 volt lithium battery, and I just basically made a little compartment out of foam, and then I sealed all that in and held it in place with expandable foam. And of course all that expandable foam is what you can see there. So let's get to the expandable foam and why that's in there, because that is the most important mod that makes this kayak so much better than when you buy it stock. So when you get it stock, this seat is, basically a molded part of the structure, and there's a little bit of a gap between the seat and the bottom of the kayak. So as soon as you get in the water, you're going to find that the bottom of this is really flimsy, and you're going to find that the seat is also very flimsy, and your butt's going to be bouncing up and down, and the bottom's going to be hitting the bottom of the seat, and you just get this really sloppy, bouncy sort of ride in the water. And I did that for the first full season I had this kayak, and then I propped it up. I took it so that the stern was down on the ground, and then I propped up the front, so it was sitting like this, and I did that so that the bottom plastic would hang down and give me as much of that rounded bottom shape as you could get. And while it was hanging like that, I sprayed expanding foam all underneath of the seat and let it harden. And then once it had hardened, I went ahead and used it. And I also have, it comes with some little foam blocks that go in the side here, and that sort of gives you a little bit of rigidity. But the expandable foam, locking those blocks into place, gave me a lot of rigidity. Now I did have to sort of carve a channel through there to run some electrical wires at one point, but we'll get to that in a minute. So putting all that foam under the seat, again, gives you this nice, believe it or not, it gives you a better solid cushion. You're not bouncing up and down. It gives you a good, stable, solid base in the bottom. And the other thing I did was, when you get one of these, it will come with a big block of foam that's just sort of shoved up in the front, and it falls out and it slides around. And what that's supposed to do is it's supposed to sort of lock into place, sort of upright right here, and that, again, it gives you a little bit of rigidity here in the front, but it also gives you a little bit of a flotation. It does not create a bulkhead and give you an airtight compartment up here, but it does give you a little bit of flotation because it's a big foam block. That foam block never stayed in place. It would slide out and it would be hitting my feet. And so I shoved it up in there as hard as I could one day, and then I used several cans of expandable foam, and I covered this end of it, and I also went in from this end, and I completely sealed that in with expandable foam. I mean, you can see it even goes over the foot braces right there to the end. So basically now from about here to here is foam. And so again, it gives me this nice rigid area of the kayak, but that also gives me a huge amount of additional flotation. This high density polyethylene floats by itself. You can just take a chunk of this plastic and throw it in the water and it'll float, but it doesn't float well. It doesn't float like a cork. It floats. That's all you can say for it. So if you're in a kayak like this and it gets swamped and filled with water, it won't sink to the bottom of the lake. It'll stay at the surface and you could hang on to it technically, but it's not going to act like a flotation type device. It's not going to float high in the water. In fact, it's going to float at the surface water like a log. So having some extra buoyancy in there is not a bad idea. And this, in addition to the rigidity, gives me lots of buoyancy. It's all that extra foam. So another thing I did was, once upon a time, and we're actually going to get to more foam here in a minute, but once upon a time I had mounted a motor on the side of this. I put this block here just so that I get a little more of a flat surface, and then I had a swivel mount motor head that I had put on here, and in order to house the larger battery I needed, I removed my stow area in the back, and I just basically cut a hole right in the bottom big enough for a battery to fit in. And so when I go out and I take a battery, I can just set it right in there. What I also did was I came in from behind and I sprayed a bunch of expanding foam up under this side too and behind the seat, and locked all that stuff in. And so again, the seat is nice and solid. I did have to run a channel again to run the wires for the battery. I used to have my motor controller and everything up here, and so the wires would run through this little channel. And likewise, when I filled all this area in order to run the wire for here, I just took a piece of PVC pipe and I jammed a piece of PVC pipe through here, and then I run the wires through the PVC pipe, and then I've got a little couple alligator clips on the end so I can stick my battery in there, clip them up, and then this is all wired in and waterproof and there for good permanently. So those are the main modifications I've made. I have put, you know, my GoPro holder. I've got little clips here. I run my microphone wire. It goes up underneath of here and runs around. You can see I got clips down here so I can run the wire up and mic myself in. So that may not look beautiful, but that is literally 5 years of weather and wear on regular old great stuff expandable foam. That's the cheap stuff that you get at Walmart called Great Stuff, and it's for large gaps, and it really did a good job. The stuff I added today while I had it open is the Loctite stuff. You can see how bright white that is. The Loctite stuff is really dense, hard foam. So if you're trying to do this to create rigidity, I would definitely suggest using the Loctite expandable foam as opposed to the Great Stuff. If you're going for flotation and you just want mass and you want volume in there, then I would go with the Great Stuff, the cheap stuff, because that expands really light and fluffy, and it's going to give you a lot more buoyancy. But having said all that, I really like this kayak. It doesn't, you know, slide through the water like a rowing hull or anything, but it's as stable as a pier. You know, I don't really stand up in this, but I have stood up in it before. You can. A little wobbly for my taste to standing up. If I really want to stand up and stretch my legs, I pull over and get out and walk around. I generally don't fish too much out of this kayak. I usually use this one for sort of paddling around, kind of cruising, you know, just going out doing recreational kind of stuff. But I do fish out of this enough that it's well worth it. And again, I think it's a great kayak. So if you're interested in the Aruba or the Sundolphin, again, the biggest thing you're going to be able to do that's going to make this a better ride, I don't care if you want to, you know, do your batteries and all that kind of stuff, if you want to wire it in electrically, but I promise you will get a better experience out of your Sundolphin if you, again, prop it up, you know, so that it's sitting up and the bottom end is hanging down as much as possible. You want as much gap between the seat and the expanding foam to fill in there as much as possible. Do that. Put some expanding foam in, you know, shove that piece in, block that in, and then put some expanding foam in there, and that gives you two nice, good, solid spots of rigidity, and all that like wobble and flop that you're going to get through here is greatly reduced. You do still get some. You can see this actually sort of bows up right here, and when I'm on the water and I hit, you know, waves and stuff, I get a little bit of thumping and flopping around from that. But again, you know, it's a budget kayak, so that's about what you should expect from something like that. So there you go, everybody. That's my Sundolphin Excursion 12 SS. I should have also made mention of this little handle I added. This is nothing more than a handle you can buy at any hardware store for a dresser or a cabinet. And then I ran a couple of expanding plugs in there, ran a couple screws in, and now I got a good solid handle right there. So when I'm lifting this up and sliding it into the truck, I can grab it by something and slide it in. Trying to grab it by this, it's just not that good, but I got this handle now, and that allows me to lift it up and slide it right back into the truck. So that's another handy little addition I've made. So thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. See you real soon in the next one.